Good morning, everyone. I'm here with a dual purpose. First, to brief the people of North Carolina on yet another looming hurricane, Michael, that's likely to affect our state. And second, to discuss funding recommendations I'm sharing with the legislature ahead of Monday's special session on Hurricane Florence. North Carolina is staring down another powerful hurricane, less than a month after Hurricane Florence battered our state. This time, we'll be spared the full wrath of the storm, but heavy rain and tropical storm force winds are headed our way. Make no mistake, Hurricane Michael is a dreadful storm, and it poses serious risks to North Carolina. Brunswick, New Hanover, Pender, Bladen, Columbus, and Robeson counties are under a tropical storm warning. Many more counties are under a tropical storm watch, covering a broad swath of eastern North Carolina, the Sandhills, and most of our coast. Tropical storm force winds will begin arriving in our state overnight. Parts of our state still reeling from Florence could see sustained tropical force winds from Michael. Winds will be strong enough to bring down trees weakened by Florence, especially with saturated ground. Winds will be strong enough to rip tarps from roofs on homes damaged by Florence. Coastal areas can also expect storm surge and coastal flooding. Beaches already weakened by Florence's towering surge may be especially vulnerable. Rain will increase across our state today, with the hardest rain expected Thursday and Thursday night. As much as 7 inches of rain could fall in some areas, and the whole state will be getting some rain. Heavy rain could cause flash flooding and river flooding. And if you live in an area where flooding has happened before, you need to keep a close eye on the forecast, and you need to be ready to evacuate if you're told to do so. The last thing people cleaning up from Florence need right now is more wind and rain. But this storm is coming, and we will be ready for it. This morning, I've declared a state of emergency for Hurricane Michael. This allows state resources to be used to help local governments respond to the storm. I've also ordered that certain restrictions for trucks and heavy equipment be waived. This helps storm response vehicles moving in and through our state, and also helps farmers who are yet again working to move crops and livestock ahead of the storm. I have activated the National Guard. 150 National Guard troops will report for duty this afternoon. We are grateful for their service. And again, this week, we mourn with them the loss of Sergeant James Allen Slape, a member of the North Carolina National Guard, who fell while serving in Afghanistan last week. I talked to his family yesterday. They are all in our thoughts and prayers, and we are grateful for their sacrifice and Sergeant Slape's bravery. So now, to tell you more about the efforts to prepare for Hurricane Michael and what you can do to prepare, here is Emergency Management Director Mike Sprayberry. Mike?
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone. The State Emergency Operations Center will raise its activation level up to a 3 today at 1 p.m. This means we'll be operating on a 24-hour basis and have the NCEM team and other members of our State Emergency Response Team here at the EOC, as well as our FEMA liaison, to ensure that we are prepared to respond to the impacts from Hurricane Michael. We continue to monitor Hurricane Michael closely and remain in close contact with the National Hurricane Center to ensure that we have the latest data. State emergency assets have been called and alerted and are prepared to deploy as needed. As the Governor noted, we have positioned North Carolina National Guard soldiers and vehicles in key locations throughout the state to ensure that they can be ready if needed for flood response operations. Our logistic warehouses have been activated in the event that commodities are required. We all need to remember that while this storm won't be as powerful as Hurricane Florence, when it reaches us, it will still be dangerous. It can cause power outages, downed trees, flash floods, tornadoes, and riverine flooding. Let's ensure that we're all prepared at the individual, local, and state level. To that end, we make the following recommendations. Please have your family emergency kit ready and make sure it's been restocked if you used it during Florence. If you have questions regarding what should be in the kit, download the Ready NC app on your smartphone. It'll let you know what should be in the emergency kit. It'll help you locate open shelters and provide you with other preparedness tips. You should also use the NCM Flood Inundation Mapping and Alert Network, known as FIMAN, to ensure that you are aware of potential flooding in your area by logging in at fiman.nc.gov. That's fiman.nc.gov. You can also sign up to be alerted by text or email when the rivers or streams begin to rise near you. Also, follow the instructions of your local officials and stay tuned to local media to make sure that you have situational awareness. And as always, thank you for your support of the North Carolina State Emergency Response Team. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Mike. We have part of our Hurricane Michael response team here, and we'll take any questions about Hurricane Michael that you might have for us. Anybody?
Any idea how many? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Any idea of how many houses right now are blue tarped in eastern North Carolina? And what are you doing about folks who actually may be threatened in this storm from the wind and rain because their homes are whole?
So we are still in the process of providing more tarps to the counties as requested, so we don't have a really strong number about how many folks have a blue tarp on their roofs, but we're still working closely with the counties to provide them as requested.
One of the reasons for the warning today is to let people know ahead of time that this may be a problem. I've seen a lot of blue tarps as I've traveled across the state. A lot of volunteer groups are helping people get their homes back, and many contractors are out there, and so we're providing them the warning that these tropical storm force winds could cause problems there. Yes, sir.
Two quick things. The state of emergencies for the entire state?
Yes, it is.
And then, I don't know if this is for you or Mike, regarding shelters. Do you envision or have a contingency plan to reopen shelters? Do you think it's going to be that level of rain or wind or damage that could warrant that?
We're prepared to open more shelters as necessary. There's still 11 shelters in operation from Hurricane Florence. I'm not going to say whether or not we anticipate opening more. It just depends on how the storm acts as it moves through the state.
Michael Highland from CBS 17. Are you all making any recommendations regarding the state fair beginning tomorrow and people who may be traveling while this storm is coming through?
We have not made any recommendations regarding the state fair.
Given that probably some of the same people are involved in the initial responses are involved in the recovery, is this delaying anything with Florence, whether it be moving people out of shelters, any of the number crunching that has to happen to get the money flowing? What sort of setback is this for Florence recovery?
Well, we know that people who are trying to fix things on the ground and trying to find people places to live, that this storm complicates things. But if you'll stay for my budget presentation, the fact that we have now had 2 major storms within 23 months, we want to do a little something extra regarding making sure that we can focus on recovery while still being able to respond at peak capacity to the response in a storm, since both of them are centered right here in emergency management. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in my budget proposal.
I know during during Florence, roads were a big issue. 995 was closed for a period of time. Are you preparing to do, are you or NCDOT preparing to do anything special ahead of Michael to make sure these roads are, make sure people don't travel on roads that may be damaged?
The Department of Transportation will be on ready to deal with flooded roads as conditions warrant. They're still making some repairs on roads. We had 2,500 roads that were closed in Florence. They've done a remarkable job getting many of them back up and running, but they will be prepared in the event that we have any road closures from Michael.
How much do you think that will set things back in terms of repairing those roads?
We'll just have to wait and see how severe the storm is. One thing that's much more positive about Michael than Florence is that it's scheduled to move through the state at a much more rapid pace, leaving less rain. The potential rainfall totals have crept up a little bit overnight, but still the storm is anticipated to be gone from North Carolina by Friday. And we think that that will be a positive when we're talking about overall rain totals that could affect flooded roads.
You said that you haven't made any recommendations for the state fair yet. Are you guys watching that? Is there any plan for that if things were to get pretty bad on Thursday, opening day?
You know, Commissioner Troxler and his department are working on the state fair, and I would direct those questions to him. I imagine that if wind got to a certain situation, they might deal with certain rides, or I don't know the answer to that. I'm speaking out of my league, so you'd have to talk to Commissioner Troxler. Okay, thank you very much, and I appreciate Lee Williamson providing American Sign Language, and I appreciate the tremendous work that this team has done during Hurricane Florence and now as they get ready for Hurricane Matthew. So thank you guys.